Dear students and learners, now welcome back to yet another short video on group discussion. We had 2 to 3 group discussion videos earlier also. In earlier video, I think I had shared you that there are 3 phases of a GD. First one is your initiation phase, next is the discussion phase, and finally you have to go for the summary stage. So here today we go into the third one, that is the summarizing part of the group discussion or summarizing segment of the group discussion. Now let me tell you here that every GD is not concluded, it is not mandatory, but then every group discussion need to have a summary. What is the difference between the two? When you conclude a GD, the entire group either decides in favor of or against the topic. There is a unanimity on that. But in case of summarization, you find it is only a summed up of the nutshell of what was discussed, both for or against. So that is the basic difference between conclusion and summarization. So every GD may not have a conclusion, but it has to have a summarization. Next, so what we do in summary? It is actually a condensed version of the group discussion, capturing the main ideas, arguments, counter arguments. So key points are captured, and we also list out agreements and counter arguments during the session, whatever happened. The summarizer's role is very important. One thing is, let me make it very clear that he or she, right, need to maintain some neutrality, objectivity without taking sides. That means no personal opinion at this stage. Whatever he had to say, he had already said in the discussion phase. Now, so summary reflects basically the main idea that were discussed, different perspectives that came up while discussing. Then it will also list out some of the consensus, agreements, and also disagreements where members differed, right? And then let us see some of the basic questions relating to the summary part of a GD. First of all, why summarize? What's the need of a summary? Can we not end the GD abruptly after the discussion phase? The answer is no. Why? So why summary? It could be answered this way. First of all, it is the conclusion of the discussion, though we don't reach at a conclusion. Then what you do is, it is a way of reinforcing whatever were learnt. Then it will also recognize the contribution of individual members who spoke what. There is also an occasion where you appreciate different perspectives. Summing up or summarizing can also identify, some of the gaps that may exist, which requires further attention in future. Then how to summarize? That is the next part of the discussion. So in order to summarize, the summarizer need to pay very focused attention on while the discussion was on. What were the main ideas? What were the main arguments or counter arguments? Any examples the member cited? Everything has to be very attentively listened to and taken down also briefly in a note form to be used later on. Then after discussion also one can cross check or verify with the members, right, whether whatever they noted down was correct or they wanted some modification in that. Now the summarization has to be very systematic, it has to be logical flow in order to create a impact. So it has to go from 2 after 1, 3 after 1. Likewise, who said what? Okay, go by a sequence. Next, when to summarize? It's a very simple answer. Now summarization is done at the end of the group discussion, and this will help to better synthesize key insights and also views, opinions that emerged, arguments, counter arguments, facts, figures, everything. So you can only do a summary of the GD at the end of the GD. Third is what to summarize, what all you need to put, what will be the content. Now the answer is like this: you start with the main topic of the GD or the question or the proposition that was given to you. Then you have to also put the arguments that was in favor or against with different perspectives. You also have to put in or the insights or the whatever learning that took place. We learned the following things during the discussion phase. That could be another way. There can also be some actions or recommendations that were agreed upon during the discussion, GD, that also can find place in the summary. Then the question is, who should summarize, right? But you know, in GD you don't have a leader formally declared. So obviously somebody who has the leadership qualities, who take the initiative, can sum up, but he cannot impose himself or herself. There has to be some consensus in that. He has to take others into confidence. But here is a list of people or the members who can do the role of summarizer. Who are they? Firstly, the person who has been facilitating the discussion from the beginning itself. Second, a participant who demonstrates strong listening and communication skill. He was interacting frequently with others, right? Rephrasing things for others, trying to coordinate, trying to persuade others to speak. He or she should better take up this role of summarizing. Third is the participant who hasn't spoken much. So you give him or her a scope, right? So that everyone's voice is heard. So that inclusivity is the reason why you should assign this summarizing role to somebody who has not spoken much during the discussion. Then expert also suggests, there is one emerging thought that the role of the summarizer can be rotated. So we say rotating role of a summarizer. What does it mean? That means the summarization role rotates among participants to give everyone a chance to contribute. If not everyone, at least 2 to 3% in the groups, they can do the summary, so that the summary part has to be divided 1, 2, 3 and 3% take up the role of summarizer. Where one ends, the other person takes up, continues likewise. So this is what answers the question, who should summarize. Next, now what are the qualities of a group discussion summary? Criteria, how to assess that it's a very good summary somebody has done. Summarizer need to pay attention to this. He or she has to be brief and concise. Don't make a very long speech of the entire things. You can't have another speech at the end as summary. Then be clear to the point. Omit unnecessary and needless words, phrases, jargons. Put it in a simple way. Then a summary should be accurately reflecting the main points that were discussed. Don't deal with only one side. Suppose the summarizer was in favor of the proposition. He talked about in favor of the proposition. He should not only load the summary part with only the arguments which were put forth by everyone in favor of the proposition. He has to take a balanced view. He has to state or list out the points raised by members from both the sides. Summary should not introduce any new points or personal opinion of the summarizer. And then it has to be objective and it has to be also impartial. How do you build your sentences? This one, the students participating in the GD finds it very hard. How do they begin? So some of the useful phrases to use in summarization, here I give you some. What are they? First of all, while introducing the summary, you can use the following sentences. You can begin with this: to summarize, then continue. Let me summarize the key points that were discussed during this GD session of 20 minutes. This could be another way. In short, or to conclude, right? See the mark with intonation. To recap, we have discussed several things during this GD session. So these are some of the ways you can build your sentence and then suffix. I give you a small example here in the introductory part of the summary. We have discussed the impact of social media on society, while some participants emphasize its role as connecting people, facilitating information, sharing, others highlighted the concern about spreading misinformation, encroaching on privacy. The latter part obviously is the negative side of. So these are some of the ways you can introduce the summary. After the introduction part, then you go to the main point or highlighting the main points that were discussed. So how do you begin and what will be your sentence like? The main points discussed on obviously the topic, the social impact or the impact of the social media on society, where as follows. Then you go on positive and then negative, or your sentence could be like this: we covered almost the entire gamut of implications of the social media on society. Some of the main arguments were, then you continue, we explored every possible angle of the proposition, that is impact of social media on society, and here it goes. So this way you can highlight the main points. Okay. Now what will be the positive impact? You can state something like this. If this topic is impact of social media on society. So positive impact that the members shared were as follows: it helps to connect with friends, family regardless of location, an effective channel for sharing information, updates and ideas. And some members also highlighted that it can be a platform to access news, knowledge and also multiple perspectives. One of the members pointed out that social media are increasingly used for cost-effective marketing and branding, or rather brand building tool, right? And another member highlighted how social media are now increasingly used as new avenues of employment, sharing or entrepreneurship, handholding. And also, as I said, you can go to the negative sides also, whatever the points were raised. Now, acknowledging agreement or consensus, because in some certain cases you find that the members agreed and in some cases they disagreed. If they agreed on certain points, is how your sentence would be. We all seems to agree on, right? Looking at every member, the summarizer is sharing this. Or alternatively, the sentence can be, there was a general consensus on, or it seems like we are all on the same page about the positive aspects, right? Communication abilities, social impact. Most of us agreed that. This could also be the sentence like. Now, acknowledging disagreement, when you disagree, that also part, there could be many members who have disagreed. So how can that be also acknowledged in the summary phase? The sentence could be like this: while there was a general agreement on the positive impact of social media on society, a few members also had a different perspective to share. They shared that they felt that rather social media can be a breeding grounds for misinformations, fake news that can cause irreparable damage. Social media can also be used for bully, harass and intimidation. This was another point of view raised by members. Now, one of the serious concerns raised by some of the members were that social media can be curated and often unrealistic portrayal of a person can be indulged in that can cause a serious damage to somebody's reputation. So, different perspectives were presented regarding the topic. This is what you are going to discuss in the disagreement phase or the negative people who had opposed the proposition or spoke against the motion. So, this way you can summarize And so basically before I sign off, so as summarizer you should know how to summarize, when to summarize, then what all will be the content of a summary, how do you begin your sentence like. So all these are the parts we have discussed today. We will continue about GD, taking up another aspects of GD in our next short video. Thank you all.